Hi, everybody. Welcome to SEO in the Details. This is episode number 2. Last week, we dove into local SEO, which any business owner could leverage to improve their organic visibility on Google, Bing, Yahoo, etc. This episode, we're going to dive more into if you're a business owner or you work for a company and you need to update your website to make it rank better in search engines. So we'll be stepping into that. It can even help you if you're planning a new website or if you already own one. But I think it's got a lot of basic information that might break down some barriers, clear up some miscommunication or misinformation that you might have about SEO. And I think it'll help most of you. So this is the basics of SEO 101. So people are confused about what SEO is. They always think keywords and things like that, but SEO is a little bit more than that. But in general, what is SEO? SEO is the process of improving your website to increase visibility in Google, Bing, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, etc. for whatever people are searching for, whether it's products you might sell, services you offer, or information on a topic that you want to show up for. So you could be an expert at whatever it might be, and you want your website to show up for it. Those are the types of things that SEO can help you with. With more visibility in the SERP or search engine results page, users more likely to click through to your website. And that's where the main importance of SEO comes into play. And the ultimate goal is to attract new people to your website. So you're always getting new customers or potential customers. And the three big things about SEO is that SEO is very cost effective and a viable strategy for any website or business. SEO builds trust and credibility with consumers or just people looking for information. And they see your website as an authority piece on a topic, whether that's a product, a service, or just general information like a blog. That's where your time to shine is as a business or a website owner. And then finally, SEO can help improve your user experience as Google rewards sites that provide customers with a good experience. And user experience and SEO kind of go hand in hand. They help each other in both directions. So it's super important to think about how your website is set up for human beings as well as Google. Again, I focus on Google because Google's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. There's many search engines out there, but the largest one is Google. Google makes up about 90% of all search activity across the globe, while Bing and Yahoo combined are only 5%. On a deeper level, Google owns 95% of the mobile web search traffic. So it's just a monster. And that's why you'll hear me say Google a lot. It is general SEO tactics or information, but we focus on Google because that's where all the data comes from. There might be some shifts this year in other search engines that are going to be leveraging AI, but we'll get to that in another episode down the road. But Google right now is the biggest player that we can kind of go after and what we do on our website. Google is a beast. They make updates every day, thousands and thousands of updates to tweak their algorithm to make it better for the end user is how they put it. Sometimes that isn't always correct, but they're constantly tweaking things to make it work differently or improve a customer or user's interaction or experience with their own search engine. They make large algorithm updates as well, and they'll do 3, 4, 5 of those a year. Sometimes those are called the core algorithm update. We actually had one roll out the other day on Thursday, December 12th. And this is following on the heels of the November core update. And the core updates are a little bit more broad. They don't focus on one issue or item like they've rolled out algorithm updates that focus on people that are plagiarizing websites or piracy or spam or They have review schemes, and they're doing review building illegally, or not illegally, but illegal in Google's eyes, I should say. Or they have a bad review score overall, so Google will make updates in their algorithm to reward the sites that are not doing those bad things. So the core algorithm updates are more general, so they usually don't tell you what they've updated. You kind of got to figure that out on your own. But this is why it's crucial to know your numbers. And what I mean by that, know your traffic, know what pages people go to on your website, know what keywords maybe they're looking for, or topics, and really know your data, know your rankings, know your demographic, or where people are located from that are finding you, and actually have a good feel for your data and metrics. Because if you don't have that, you're kind of lost in the wilderness without it. Your data is your compass to guide you through kind of being lost. So it'll help you get to true performance improvements. If you don't know those numbers, it'd be like not knowing how many ceramic coatings you have in stock, or how you have your calendar built out. And it's just something that you need to take over as a business owner. And it's as important as knowing your books and understanding your accounting. So understanding your data is huge. And then the little fun fact here is, and maybe most of you know this already, but YouTube's the second largest information-based search engine on the planet, and that's also owned by Google. So when you combine the two of those, you're talking about a powerhouse of search engine traffic that you can garner from your website, or maybe on YouTube, or using YouTube on your website with embedded videos or what have you. So Google really, again, is just the powerhouse here. You'll hear me say SERP a lot, and that stands for Search Engine Results Page. That's basically the search results you see when you put a question into Google, whatever your question or query. You might also hear the term query from me a lot. That is just the keyword, phrase, or question you're asking Google is the query. And this also changes a lot in Google's landscape, especially the last year and a half or so. But historically, ads have been on the top of Google, and now they say sponsored. They used to say ad, and they've changed the way they format them throughout time, but you'll tell that those are paid placements. So you need to pay to put your website there, or your business. The place SEO plays in is called the organic results, which are below those paid listings. And you can rank organically in images, videos, normal website results, and many other places. We'll dive a little deeper in that in a minute. The order of the results on the SERP is determined by a huge algorithm that Google controls, and it's a closed box. Like, they don't really tell you what their algorithm is. SEOs and website people have been slowly figuring it out over the years, but they are tight-lipped about it. So we do our best to navigate that and improve your relevancy and authority for your website, which goes a long way. They also want your users that come to your website to trust what you have to say. So they know if you're plagiarizing, if you're stealing information somewhere, they're not going to give you as much relevancy or authority as a website that originally wrote that content. Google also knows where you're located. So if you're a local-based business, they know where your business is located if you've set those things up properly, and they will credit your business more than someone that might be out of your area, especially on a mobile device. They're really looking at that mobile landscape to see how they can best answer someone's question. So those are a few things that Google looks at in a general sense to serve your results. Of course, the higher the results on the SERP, meaning the closer to the top of the page, the more likely your website will get clicked, whether you're in the local listings or if you have like a general organic listing, which is the one that you'll see here that says top 10 best ceramic coatings in Downers Grove, Illinois. And that's Yelp ranking #1 for that. That would be more of a traditional listing, and the top 2 or 3 positions garner the most traffic. So those are the end results that we're fighting for with our websites when it comes to ranking in the search results. The search layout for organic listings or non-paid, you're not paying for these positions. So there's, again, a lot of weight for the top 3 positions. This data might be old because of Google's recent updates they've done. They haven't provided us with much information yet on what that means. But historically, the top 3 positions of Google get this 70 to 80% of all the traffic for a question or a query that's asked. Those can be in traditional organic listings, which is, for example, best ceramic coatings in 2024 from Car and Driver. You can also rank in the news. So if you put out a news result, a newsletter, or not newsletter, but like a press release or some sort of news information, you can rank there. It could be your local news ranking there. You could even post your own news if you wanted to. People also ask and related questions. This is a huge part of Google's search results now and has been out for several years. And it's a great way to take advantage of more real estate on Google. You could rank for locations, so your business from like a local SEO standpoint that we talked about in the last episode. You can rank on Google's map. A featured snippet kind of ties into what this result looks like with this big picture here, or you might have multiple pictures or deeper information that show up for an organic listing. That's called a featured snippet. You can rank in Google's image results for products, services, whatever you tag your images for, you have the potential to rank for that. So that's a great place to try to rank. And then finally, video historically has been a great place to rank, whether you talk about products or services or more general information or educational information. Those are a great way to gain visibility to your brand or your business. So historically, these are the main organic placements that you can rank for on Google. Google's been making a lot of changes, not only to their algorithm, but the way their real estate looks like and the search results look like on their search engine. Bing and Yahoo and other ones will follow this, as they always try to follow and keep up with Google. But right now, Google has added in things that you may have heard a lot about. Some have been controversial. For example, the AI overviews, which is artificial intelligence based. You'll see that here. It says Search Labs AI overview in the results. And initially, these started out in May and ramped up pretty heavily until SEO started calling out data issues to Google, and then Google pulled it back down to about 7%. And now they've been back on the pedal and raising up how many times or what percentage of questions or queries these are showing up for, and it's just going to keep increasing based on what Google's saying. It's probably in the 80% range of all questions on Google are triggering this. And then within that, they're changing the layout as well of what can rank in there. I mentioned that SEOs have been pushing back on Google for some of the results that have been in here. And they've really done a good job of responding to that. So for example, in the beginning of this feature, if you were to write questions about your money or your life or your health, some of the results were a little bit shady or probably legal issues for Google. So one question that was called out in LinkedIn and addressed to Google was, how can I lose 10 pounds the quickest? And the answer Google provided was, cut your arm off. Well, as you could tell, that probably wouldn't be a very good result that they want up there. So they did improve that and have been cleaning up these answers. So you'll see more and more of the AI overviews there. Another big change in the recent about 2 months is organic product grids. So it's almost like you're shopping in Google for products directly. Historically, these were ads that you had to pay for, but now organically or through SEO, you could rank for different products in these search results. And those are going to be a huge thing in 2025 and something that I'm focusing on a lot at work and then for my customers that I work with. And these also trigger other options for products, but in stores that might be near you. So maybe it's a local auto parts store or a distributor, popular products that they have the data for to say that these products are, popular, growing in demand, and they'll offer up suggestions on that. Or maybe it's a local place and they have fast pickup or delivery services for something. And it doesn't have to just be, ceramic coatings. It can be a number of things. Another new item that started this year is called discussions and forums. You'll see this more and more for questions, kind of like you're seeing the growth of these AI overview sections. You'll see an increase in things showing up for Reddit and Quora and other forums and discussion boards. That was scandalous because Reddit happened to do a big deal for $60 million or something at the beginning of 2024 with Google, and then all of a sudden Reddit was showing up for a ton of searches. I think their search share that they were historically showing up for was, I think, about 10%, and now they were up to about 90% of search share for different questions. So you could see the concern of favoritism maybe that was there, that maybe has changed now, but that was some big things to go down this year. And then things to know kind of related to those frequently asked questions that you might show up. It's another section that you can possibly leverage your business to go after and your website to show up for. And back what I said, there's a lot of ranking factors. Google doesn't really tell us which ones are which. We've figured out over time of how to maybe affect your rankings. And we as SEO know that there's well over 200 of these signals that you need to work on from a Google landscape perspective. Some are more important than others, but overall there are things that we can do. And a lot of SEO work comes down to the little grains of sand in an hourglass. They're not always these big boulders of issues that you're fixing. It's all the little stuff and the details that you're working on to improve your site over time. But overall, what we want to control for these SEO factors are things that are readily accessible for us. So we can either do two things. We can control and affect the things on our website, probably the easiest. Those are things that we can control. The other side of that is off-site SEO, which is links and information on other external websites. That's a lot harder to win on. So we focus our efforts mostly on our own website or our own properties that we can control. So that's where we should spend most of our time. The big columns or pillars of SEO that you can probably work on your own website that would be the most impactful are content. So the information on the page and in the code of your website that tells Google and human beings what your pages are about, and not just your website's homepage. Like every page should have information on it, unless it's like a contact page. Maybe someone just needs your address, your phone number. Like you probably don't have to beat that to death, but you want to put your effort there. That's probably the biggest thing that you can control and make an impact on your website. Google likes navigation updates and information. So making pages and information on your website easy to find for both Google and human beings is important. If you have the greatest page in the world about ceramic coating a car, but it's hard to find, you're not going to help human beings unless they maybe do a Google search, and Google's not going to reward you if they have a hard time finding that content. So you need to make sure humans and Google can find that information. User experience, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that's a huge deal the last, 5, 6, 7 years. How our websites are built for human beings is key. Whether it's improving your site speed, reducing roadblocks for people so they don't want to leave your site right away, or maybe you have really bad information and you need to clean that up. You want to improve how long someone's on your website, so having good information for them to read is key to do that. And maybe you have other pages that are related to something that you want to keep them onto your site longer by visiting other sections of your website. Those are all important ways to improve your user experience. And then finally, when we get into the weeds of technical updates and really diving into things that maybe you need to adjust code for or improve features and functionality, that's really more technical SEO that we need to look at as well. And some of the top ranking factors, and this is very broad terminology, but quality content, quality trumps quantity at any day of the week. Having a mobile first website, so having a website designed for mobile use on like a mobile device or even an iPad or a tablet. Your page experience, so again, making your pages easy to navigate and use, and other factors within that. Internal linking, so your navigation again is important, so how people can find information on your site. Make it as easy as you can without being too clunky or just a big mess of different things they can go to. But being able to find something is crucial. External linking, so do you link to other websites, other sources of truth? That's something Google looks at. A lot of people have a hard time understanding why you want to link to something that's not on your own website. But Google looks at that. They look at that as a source of truth or trust or authoritativeness. So they do like that. And then page speed. Page speed is also part of page experience, but you can look at it in and of itself. Your faster your pages or your website, usually the better you can do from a page experience standpoint. And we'll dive into that a little bit more here in a minute. I just built a quick hierarchy of SEO for everyone to kind of reference. 80% of SEO happens here. So being able to crawl your website, great content, you're optimizing your pages and your information, a great user experience, maybe information or content that people want to share, whether it's on social media or maybe their website links to yours because they found something that you have on your website super valuable. You're using quality titles, URLs, and descriptions. So you're not just using numbers for a URL. You actually have ceramic coatings, Chicago or something in your URL. And then finally, the nitty gritty gets down to about this 20% section here. And there's way more in it than this, but things that you might include in that are technical elements like code, schema markup, which is also an element of code, but it identifies extremely useful information to Google, Bing or Yahoo. Schema is actually the one time in history that Google, Bing, and Yahoo got together and said we need to create a formal code structure that we all adhere to and can recognize and use as useful information. And they created schema.org. We'll get into that in another episode, but it's the only time that I can really think of that the three of them got along enough to build some sort of framework together. But again, the 80-20 rule that I like to follow is 80% of it matters here. 20% is kind of getting you over the finish line here. So focus on this big 80% chunk, and that will really push you further along than if you waste your time up here. And before you can do any of this with ranking or any of this stuff, Google, Bing, Yahoo need to be able to crawl your website. So what I mean by that is maybe you've heard of search engine crawlers. It's basically or spiders. They go out and navigate the internet and interwebs, whatever you want to call it, and they go through page by page of your website or whatever website it is, and they look for information, different links, and they just keep crawling. But if you tell Google or Bing or Yahoo, don't crawl my site, they're never going to look at it. So it's almost like you don't have a site in their eyes. And that can be controlled by the next part, which is indexation. So Google might be able to see your site, but you might have a tag or some sort of code that says, don't index my site in your search engine. Well, that's shoot yourself in the foot. There are times you don't want things indexed. So you don't want people's personal information indexed, or maybe you don't want your shopping cart, or maybe it is a page behind a paywall that someone has to pay for, and you don't want Google to surface that. There are ways to use indexation for good. They're not always bad. And it's just something that you need to do first before you can rank your website. It's almost like, think of crawling, like got to crawl before you walk kind of a thing. And it's the same situation here. If you can't crawl your website, then it's basically pointless to the search engines. You're not going to get any traffic from Google, Bing, Yahoo if you don't allow crawling and indexation. One of the biggest factors I mentioned earlier is content. Back in 1996, when the internet was kind of in its kickoff and new to everybody, Bill Gates, who was, you know, the main man of Microsoft forever and started that company and is a brilliant human being when it comes to the internet and computers and software and all those things. He said that content's going to be king for the internet. And it's still that way today, almost 30 years later after saying this. It's probably the easiest and most impactful thing you can do on your website to make it improved in usability from user experience as well as organic ranking. And it's something that you can constantly work on. You can't do it enough. Like, it's just something that should always be in your rotation, kind of like maintaining a ceramic coating or taking care of your grass or whatever it is you want to refer that to. It's the best way to improve your website. It's crucial because Google reads what's on your website. So if you have well-written information or guidance on something, whether it's a product, a service, a blog about whatever, you know, Google can read that, and then they compare you to other websites that might be going after that same subject. Well, that might separate you from them. So that's why it's important from Google's standpoint. You want it well written for humans because Google rewards websites that write well for human beings. If you write your content at a first grade level, you're not going to get rewarded from Google's standpoint. You don't want typos, you don't want misspellings and grammar errors. So this is where using spell checkers and maybe a word program or Grammarly or something can really help you a lot with making your website read well, look professional, and get the most out of it as you can. You want your information to be built on an effort. You don't want just like 100 words of whatever, like a Twitter post. You know, you need to put in the effort. You should probably have a minimum of 300 plus words on every page of your website, except for, like, of course, your cart or maybe a contact page. You don't need that necessarily, but you need to put the effort there. There might be pages based on if you do some competitive research, maybe you need 700 words of content and information. That's all going to be something we look at in a future episode, but take your time. A great way to build out good content is to use an FAQ or frequently asked questions format. A, it's great for SEO, and B, it allows you to add information that your prospective clients might be looking for, or maybe it's something you see a lot of in your business. How long does it take to ceramic coat a car? How often should I wash my car? Whatever it is. What do I do with my ceramic coating after I open it? Whatever the questions are, you can include that in your pages to fill out that length of content easier, because it's something that people want. They're looking for that. It helps your business, helps you build authority, and many other things. So those are just some quick tips of how to improve your content. Mobile first. So a mobile first approach started several years ago by Google. They hinted that mobile websites are going to be their first step in looking at a website. No longer are they looking at desktop right away. They're looking at a mobile website first. Back in the day, you used to have a mobile website and a desktop version. Now you can have a website that does both, and it automatically reacts to whatever device you're on. So it's not as huge of a deal as it was to build a mobile first website, but you still want to make sure that it's easy to access things and the menus are good, the information's good, the images look nice in a mobile format. And you're basically building your website from a mobile perspective before you worry about what it looks like on a laptop or a desktop computer. As of July 5th, 2024, Google stated that they're no longer going to look at a website that doesn't have a mobile formatted version of that site. And then they'll just start de-indexing websites that don't fit that. So de-indexing means you maybe had a website in Google search results, and then they just say no more, and they boot you from the results that you used to have, and you won't show up anymore. In the US, 63% of Google's organic search traffic comes from mobile devices. So again, mobile, whether you have an Android or an Apple phone, it doesn't matter. You can find out deeper on what your customers use, but they all use the same mobile formatting in general. So build your website from a person using a phone perspective, and you'll stay ahead of any issues that might come up from not using that approach. Page experience. So again, SEO and page experience kind of flip-flop in the direction that you're going, but they're all related. Page experience is a huge ranking factor. It basically measures how people interact with your website. So the better interaction they have, the better you should rank in the search results. And you can measure it based on how people are responding to your website, how long they're on your site, how many pages they visit. Do they come to your website and they don't like something and they leave right away? You know, there's metrics that you should know. Again, what I said earlier, know your data, that you can improve on. Some of the things to improve your page experience, which ultimately will help your SEO, is a page load speed. The faster your site and pages load, the better you'll be. If something takes too long, especially on a mobile device, like say it takes 10 seconds to load a page, most people are just going to abandon that and go to the search results again and look for a different answer, because they're not going to sit around. People are busy nowadays. We all live crazy, hectic lives, and nowadays we don't have the patience for that sort of thing. So build your pages as fast as you can. Maybe if you're in a small demographic or geo area, it might not be as crucial for you. If you're a nationwide brand and you're competing against other nationwide brands, that's probably a little bit more important for them as a business owner or website manager. But the more you can do on improving speed, the better. Whether your images are too big, you have clunky code, you know, there's tools that can go out there and help you improve that. Visual stability is something new in the last few years that Google measures from a ranking standpoint of page experience. And basically that means is, do you have a bunch of information that looks a certain way on desktop versus a certain way on mobile, and how those slide together and work? Well, does it slide and do all these crazy things to make it work? Well, Google's measuring that now. It's really complicated, but I, even as an SEO, sometimes struggle with how to put that into usable planning and how I talk to developers and things like that about making that a thing. There's plenty of tools out there that'll help you, but following best practices on certain things should get you through that. And we'll talk more about that on another episode. Mobile usability. You know, how convenient is accessing information on a web page, whether it's a page you have to sign into? How hard is it to add a product to a cart? Is the, you know, a button hard to find? You know, you want to make sure that stuff is all usable and easy to find on a mobile website. Is your website secure? Do you use an HTTP or HTTPS version of a website? HTTPS is secured, and there's different levels of security, but Google wants to see that security level. It's not really a big deal anymore. You pay a couple extra bucks a year to be a secured website, but there was a huge push by Google 3-4 years ago to get people off of non-secured into secured, and they made that a slight ranking factor. But it's more of a user factor now. Like before, you could have a non-secured site, no big deal. Nowadays, they actually throw it in your face in a lot of browsers like Chrome. They say, hey, this site's not secure. Do you trust it? Things like that. So you want to make sure that you're secure. Interaction or interactivity on a website. Do you have clear buttons people can click on? Do you have interactive copy, like quizzes, like what type of shampoo do I need for maintaining a vehicle? Or in the beauty industry, they use these a lot. Like, what color skin do I have? What makeup do I need for that? Or what's my fashion sense or style? And you can walk through different quizzes, so you can do that sort of thing on your website if it's relevant to your business. Videos are great. They keep people engaged and on your site longer. So those are ways you can increase interaction of your users. And then finally, content accessibility. Back to what I said about navigation. Is your content easy to find and read? and not only just read visually, but people that use screen readers, they need to be able to use their tool to read what's on a website. Are you allowing them to do so? Are you blocking them from using their tools? Or maybe they have some sort of color blindness and they can't read the image that is looking at them. Maybe it's a red and blue sponge, but they have a hard time seeing blue. Well, in the code, they might use a tool to tell them, hey, this code says this sponge is red and blue. Well, if you don't add those types of tags in there, they're not going to get that type of importance or value from your information. So make sure you're accessible to humans as well as Google. And again, we'll dive deeper in a lot of these things in a later episode, but that's just the kind of the fundamentals of page experience. On-page optimizations, this is probably right up there with content. Without these things, you may as well throw the content out the window. And what I mean by on-page optimizations, you're updating the information on your own website, on your own pages, not just the home page, but every web page of your site. It's key to ranking for any business. You want to make sure that every page is unique. If you have the same information on 10 different pages, Google's gonna be like, I don't know what these pages are. They're all the same to me. And they're gonna have a really hard time giving you ranking value or authority on something if they can't tell the difference. So make sure your pages are built uniquely. And some of the best, most hard-hitting things that you can do are page titles. It basically lives in the code of your page, and it tells Google what your page is about, but you only have about 70 characters to work with, and you want to shoot underneath that. If you make it too long, Google just ignores part of it, or it'll look scrambly, or scrambled, I should say, in the search results. And again, we'll dive into that at a deeper episode. And you want to make sure your brand name is at the end of those titles. Sometimes page titles are called meta titles, title tags, SEO titles. They all have this different names, but they're basically the same place of your website. Visually on your site, you don't see that unless you hover on like the tab of a browser, and then you might see a title pop up. Those mostly live in your code to tell Google what a page is, and then that's what they show in the search results. And again, be unique. You want every page on your site to be unique when it comes to a page title. Meta descriptions live underneath the page title in the search results. It's basically your section to add information about your pages or your products or your service. These should be about 160 characters or less. If they're more than that, it's not going to display correctly. There are certain platforms like Shopify that are awful for these. Their fields in their platform allow up to 320 characters, which are almost double what you need. And it's just a horrible format. And they would hope by now they would fix that, but they have not. I use a tool called Word Counter to help with my page titles and meta descriptions, make sure I'm following the best practice of character counts when I'm writing them. You can use other things. I also use Excel to do that when I have a massive list of these to do. But if you only have a handful, something like Word Counter is super helpful. But this place, the meta description isn't necessarily a ranking factor. It is almost like your advertising copy or information that you want people to click on. And if you get a lot of clicks over time, then Google looks at that click value that you're getting, and that becomes a ranking factor. So that's why it's important. URL structure. I don't know how many times I see websites that have a domain name and then they have a page, and all the pages some random text or even just numbers, and it's just gibberish. It doesn't mean anything. Make sure your URLs make sense. If you do ceramic coatings in Chicago, make sure those words are in there. If you're selling ceramic coatings, maybe it's a 30 ml bottle of a ceramic coating. Use some of those elements from the product name or the product to put into the URL. And again, we'll work on some examples of that here in a future episode. But it's a great way to break out the structure of your website as well with different categories. And if you have the same structure on every page, it's really horrible for Google's perspective and human beings, because they don't know what they're kind of looking at. Headings is a way to level up the content on a page. Think of a heading as a title for a page. There's different formats of those: H1s, H2s, H3s, H4s. They're made like that, H1 being the most prominent, the most robust and powerful in a sense, but they're also formatted differently to look a certain way. Historically, creative people use them to make the sizing of important information maybe bigger or bolder or look different, but they also have an SEO value. So you want to kind of play with those, see how they look on a page, on mobile especially, so they're not too big and taking up too much space. But they're a great way to tag your information and make important things pop to Google. You do not want to tag your whole content block of information with a heading tag. That's almost like abuse of the heading or the code, so don't do that. Images are super powerful nowadays. You can tag an image with a name. So you always want to use file names similar to URL names. You want to name the file. You don't want to just use like whatever the file name that a camera or a phone might give you. You want to rename it. So it could be ceramic coating red Corvette, whatever it might be. And then once you upload that to your website, there's usually a field that you can update called an alt tag or a tag. You want to tag all your images, not just for SEO, but the American Disability Act came out, I don't know how many years ago, and that's actually something they can go after you for if you do not tag your images, and that becomes a legal headache. There's people that go out there on purpose looking for websites that don't tag images, and then they file lawsuits against companies. And it's messy, and the fines are huge, even if you're a small website. The people that go after that don't care. The government doesn't care. You all need to follow these protocols, is what they say. So make sure you use alt tags, and we'll again get into that in a later video, but it's crucial to tag all your images with a good file name and a good alt tag. And the alt tag describes the image kind of to another level. So you can show up in a Google image search or a Bing image search, whatever it might be. And you can rank on that image then, not just for your pages or your content. And then finally, on page optimization, so navigation, we've talked about that a lot. Of course, you have your main menu that lives on the top of the page, but linking to important pages of your site is crucial for finding information. So you can link in the main menu, you can link in content through cross-linking. And you want to avoid using things like click here or learn more. Like that's just generic text that doesn't really mean anything to Google. It might be easy to put there because you don't know what to put. But if you're trying to cross connect maybe your ceramic coating products with ceramic leveling towels, you want to have for ceramic coating towels, click here. You don't want to do that. You highlight ceramic coating towels and you put a link on that to another page, and you can see on that page that different look that might have. And again, we'll get into this a little bit further later, but it builds relevancy across the different pages of your site by using good terminology for those sections. They're called anchor text. If you just use click here or learn more or here even, it's not helping you out at all. And then internal linking, again, a little bit deeper on that. Internal links are a huge thing that kind of separated Google back in the day as a search engine. They actually followed those internal links across the internet to see how things were connected. And that's what set them apart back in the day from Lycos and Netscape and all these different search engines back in the day. So that's important. So you might have a global menu that is designed to allow people to find big pages on your site or categories or products. Makes it easy, quick to navigate. But sometimes you can't put every page on your site, so you might need a sub-navigation, or you might need to cross-link in your content, which is the next section here. So say you have a category page all about ceramic coatings, and then in that content, you might have ceramic coatings that are made out of graphene or fluorine or whatever the chemical is, or polysilazane, maybe you have ceramic spray coatings. Well, you can link in the content through cross-linking to all those different sections of the site. Or maybe you link to ceramic applicators or leveling towels, or you talk about make sure you get decon products before you ceramic coat a car, and then you link to clay bars and decon soaps or whatever it might be. It's a great way to navigate and build linking authority across your site. Every page has a value from 0 to 100, if you want to think of it that way. So your home page might be a value of, we'll make up numbers, 50. So any page you link to from that home page will get that extra love from that strong value that the home page has. And as you cross-link across the site from different pages, you're passing that authority to other sections of your site, which over time Google will reward. You can link in the footer. So some websites, they'll put different links from the footer that maybe don't exist in the global menu. So maybe that's a contact page. Maybe it's FAQs. Maybe it is a privacy policy or their advertising policy, or maybe it's a link to a blog or whatever it might be. It could be a different set of links that you don't want to clog your global menu with because it gets too crazy. And then there's something called a sitemap, and there's two different kinds. A sitemap is a great way to tell users what is on your site, and that would be more of like a visual sitemap. Many sites link to these in the footer. It's called an HTML sitemap. You can visually see the links to it. The one I have listed first is called an XML sitemap. That's kind of like a directory of your website, almost like the yellow pages, and it says, hey, Google, these are all the pages, products, images, blogs, whatever it might be that we have on our website, and here's the URLs for that. And I want you to look at these daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you tell it to. And then Google knows to go after that XML sitemap and look for updates. And again, the HTML sitemap is mostly for human beings. It does have some SEO value, but it's not very great. But it's great for people that use a screen reader, or maybe they're having a hard time navigating your site. And it's something they go to right away in their journey when they're trying to find something. So that's a quick way to build some internal linking and navigation across your website. External linking. So this kind of goes two ways. So Google is different, again, because they looked at links across the web, both on your website, how they're all connected, but then how your website might link to another site, or whose website links to yours. So if an external website links to you, it's called an external link or a backlink. This was a huge ranking factor. It still is. I hear tons of people in forums say, oh, backlinks don't matter anymore. They do, but they, meaning the search engines, have cut down on shady tactics to build backlinks. They do not want people buying links. They want you to organically build backlinks through good content, good information, trustworthiness, things like that. But they are still a factor. If you abuse these policies, you can get penalized or even removed from the search index. CNN and Forbes last month would not take down their affiliate websites that drive affiliate dollars to their big customers, and Google de-indexed them completely. Not CNN.com, or Forbes.com, but their affiliate network websites that they owned. So they went from massive amounts of traffic to nothing on those websites because they tried to skirt Google's policies on that. But it's still a huge ranking factor, so don't let people tell you it's not. Easy ways to get backlinks could be local business directories and like Yelp, Nextdoor. We talked a little bit more about that in the local SEO 101 episode last time. If you have partners, what partners do you have? Is it the Chamber of Commerce? Do you have distributors or brands that you work with that might be able to link to you for your business? Ask anyone that you partner with or do business with to link to your website. It's a great way to build backlinks. And then creating amazing content is probably the biggest one. Whether you have a really well-written blog, great informational and educational content. Maybe it's how to wash microfiber towels if you sell towels. And other websites link to that to kind of give credit to their website about what they're saying, because there's still people that, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but you're linking to another website that talks about it that way. They might trust that information more. Well, Google likes that. So building out great information, great video content, hosting that content on your website or embedding it on there is a great way to build backlinks. And back to external linking, it's okay for you to link off of your website to another site as well. So maybe you list what ceramic coatings you offer in your business. So you can link to G-Technic, Ethos, Detail Co, whomever it might be, Phoenix EOD, and you can link to those websites. So then people, if they happen to be interested, they can go to that website and see why that coating is important. Or maybe you're part of the IDA, or maybe you're some other certification of something. You know, maybe you link to that, and that builds authority and trust. So external linking is fine. Don't let people tell you otherwise. And there's ways to make that external link, if someone clicks on it, pop up like in a new window or a new tab on their browser, so they still can go back to your website without hitting the back button or getting lost. So don't worry about external linking. It's a very good thing from both standpoints, your website and others. Again, page speed is crucial nowadays on mobile devices. It became a ranking factor, I don't know, 8-ish years ago, maybe a little longer. And things that affect user experience and SEO, and SEO affects page speed, or page speed affects SEO, and page speed affects user experience, and user experience affects SEO, and SEO experience or affects user experience. Well, that's all related again. And since so much traffic is done on mobile devices, it's really important to focus on your mobile page speed. There's plenty of tools to go over that, and we'll do that again in another episode. We'll do a whole episode about some of this stuff. But why it's important. So page speed directly is a ranking factor. So if you are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you are a mobile detailer, and you're competing against another mobile detailer, and Google's looking at all these ranking factors and crossing off, oh, they're the same here, the same here. They both have great content. They both have good title tags. They have good headings. They have good navigation. Oh, wait, this site's way faster than this other one. We'll give more credit to that faster site. And that should help you with your rankings. So that's kind of how that works. Lots of websites, you know, their activities all on mobile. So to improve that chance of ranking and getting traffic and keep people engaged, you're basically enhancing the user experience. So if you have a really slow site and people leave all the time, Google tracks that, and they say, okay, these people are abandoning the site quickly because it's slow. We're going to not give that site credit, and they'll not penalize you, but they'll not give you the rewards that you might have from a fast site. And the user experience part is people are coming to your site, oh, it's slow, and then they leave. Well, that's a bad experience. Or maybe your video content's super slow on your site because it's not optimized for loading, or maybe you have an image that's just massive. It looks a certain size, but the file is, 20 megabytes or something crazy. It's just bogging down your website. Well, that's a bad experience. So fixing those things helps SEO, helps your load time, helps your experience, and they're all interconnected again, like I've said a few times. Page speed impacts conversions. So conversions can be a sale. It could be submitting a lead form. It could be signing up for something, whether it's a newsletter, creating an account. Those are all types of conversions. The biggest ones for businesses usually are sales, or like setting up an appointment. And usually the faster your pages are, the more likely someone is to convert. So Google had some old data back in the day that every 1 second improvement of page speed can grow your conversion rate by 7 to 10%. And they even had crazier numbers than that in the past, but those were somewhat relevant and reliable. So again, the faster your website is, not just from an SEO standpoint, you're going to hopefully get more customers from being quick. And those are the major bullets of page speed. And my thoughts about SEO when it comes to these basics is focus on the little things that you can control. 80% of the way is through that basic stuff. When you're splitting hairs on the other 20%, that's when you've really settled in. You've gotten your site, pretty much all the way there, and you just need those little things to keep it moving. That spend your time in that 80%, especially the first, year maybe that you're working on it. You need to be consistent. You need to try new things. What I mean by consistent is constantly work at it. You might update the same page 5 times a month, but you're consistently working at it. Just like anything else, posting your local SEO pictures or updating social media, you have to constantly do that. If you do it once a month and you haven't done it for 4 months, and then you do it again, and then you've skipped 2 months, and then you maybe do 3 more posts, and then you skip a week, you're not going to get the benefit of it. The people that benefit from SEO or any business, they're working hard on their business, but they're also keeping marketing and their website in mind all the time, and they're plugging away at it. Even if it's once a week you spend an hour on it, it'll be well worth it over the long run. And you need to try new things. I run into that in my professional career all the time. You get people that are stuck in their ways. They don't want to try new things. Well, Google's changing the landscape all the time. They want you to try, different content, different formatting, different lengths of certain things. Then they'll go back and change it again. They want you to try new things. They want you to do new tactics, whether it's different types of paid advertising. Maybe it's changing what you're working on your site, and all of a sudden you're doing something new like blogging or creating video content. Like, you need to do new things to really push your website to the next level that you want it. And again, it's much like maintaining a ceramic coating or taking care of your grass or your house. Like, it needs maintenance. So you might not even be doing anything new, but maybe you're updating old text with old prices, or old services that you maybe don't do anymore. Maybe you have new services that you forgot that you can do, or upcharge for. You need to constantly work on that stuff. And then the biggest thing is track your data. If you don't know your numbers, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're working in the dark, and you're lost, basically. I don't know how many business owners, not just detailers or product companies or brands, they don't know their numbers, and they'll say, oh, business is down, or SEO is not working, or whatever it might be. And then I'll ask, well, what's your traffic like? Is it down? Is it up? Well, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? You just told me business is worse. And they'll give you another reason or excuse. Oh, well, I'm not making it as much money. Well, what's the difference? And they still don't know. So you need to know your data, know your rankings, know your traffic, know your revenue, know your number of orders. Are your orders selling more per order or less per order? Like, those are all different things that you can track nowadays. And we'll have another episode on maybe key metrics to follow in your business and help you get ahead. But overall, it's up to you. If you need help with your website or your SEO, there's tons of resources out there. Ask me. You can email me, fred@orangeblueweb.com. You can hit me up on Instagram at Fred Shramovich, and I can help guide you. I do offer services to help you, but I'm trying to teach you guys as much as I can to help you do it for yourselves, because it is something you can do without getting overwhelmed or nervous about something. And you'll learn a lot in the meantime to make your situation better. But you need to work at it. If you don't work at it, you're not going to go anywhere. I work full-time at a major group of 8 women's clothing stores, and I work on SEO every day for every single one of them. Or not every single brand, but 5 brands that we have. That's all I do is work on them. And it's not a one-stop thing, one-time thing that you do. SEO is ongoing, and it just never ends. So keep up the work, keep asking questions, keep trying new things, and we'll see you on the next episode. And again, if you have any questions, hit me up. at Instagram, Fred Shramovich, or email me at fred@orangeblueweb.com, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you very much.